Are we live? Ew. You want to do the introduction? I gotta find a document real quick. There's a wild document that just came out in the Delphi case.
I can. I didn't include Delphi to the mix, but that's okay. Fridays are recap, true crime of the week, mega madness, Thought Riot Podcast, the true crime talk show, getting into all of it, everything that happened from the week prior. So, yeah, I can do it. I always hate doing the intros.
You do?
No, just kidding.
I thought you loved doing it.
I know.
I mean, I can do the intros.
All right, everybody. Welcome, all of you out there. I am looking directly at you. Yes, you right there. Welcome to the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. My name's Brendan.
And I'm Malia.
And
we're your hosts. Welcome to the show.
All right. You can find us on every major podcast platform, literally all of them, every single one of them. We are the True Crime Talk Show and Thought Riot Podcast on everything, absolutely everything. We have every social media account out there. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Patreon. We got a free tier. We're on YouTube. We're on a couple of the Asian market streaming services, Trovo, all of them. We're on everything. So come find us on everything at Thought Riot Podcast. Maybe that'll change sometime down the line, depending on, how things work out and whatnot. But welcome, everybody. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications, and come hang out with us so you can know when we go live, every time we go live, and you won't miss a thing. What document are we pulling up?
I'll let you know in a minute.
Okay. So we're going to be getting into everything that has been hot over the last week in the true crime community. I think what we have on our thumb is the Apple River case. I wanted to get into that. I know that you had brought it up briefly just last night, and I've had the chance to actually dig my fingers into it, and it is wild. Like, real wild. It kind of blew me away, the amount of testimonies and the level of, I don't even know what you would call it. I had a hard time telling if every single testimony was intentionally different from the other, even though they were all right there.
There were some,
or what?
There were some.
It was insane.
Yeah, and there were some state witnesses that I don't understand why they were witnesses. Like, why were you called to the stand? Because you just made the case look so bad. I mean, obviously, he was still convicted of a lesser charge, but so the state still won. They still got a man who's going to get put away for life. Even if it's not murder one, like probably the victims would like, it's still in life in prison, which is a huge deal.
I saw someone asking about call-ins, so we absolutely are going to be taking call-ins, not this show though, but we got that stuff all worked out and we'll be able to do it. The only thing I have to do is set up the delay so I can verify before someone's like live on air, because, tens of thousands of people watch it. So it's helpful to have a verification process. So I'm looking into that. As soon as I get that verification process down, we will be doing it. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Nothing. I don't know. So what did you that's all you wanted to bring up, that you watched the witnesses? Some
I
of
mean,
them?
I want to dig into some of it and
Okay, so
go
are you
through
going to do the
some of
deep
it.
dive on the case then? I'll let you do it then.
I mean, we can do the deep dive. I'm just looking for open conversation about the insanity of the case. It's not a case that we've dug into yet, like into the details around the witness testimony or anything in between. We just lightly covered it last night, going through the basis of the crime at hand and the case. And I think it would be beneficial if we dug into it a little bit more. I just couldn't say anything the other night. I had nothing to say because I didn't know anything about it. So I went looking today expecting to watch like a whole bunch of, just standard boring testimony. Every single testimony was not boring.
No.
Every single one was like edge of my seat. What are you saying? Why are you saying that? What is going on here? And I will say that the defense attorney, absolutely incredible. I just bit my lip. Absolutely incredible. Like blew me away. Incredible. The composure, the control, and the intent with the questions and the presentation, it was insane. But if we're going to be doing some updates on Delphi, why don't we get into that first and then we'll get into our regular topics?
I'm not ready to.
Oh, okay.
I have to find the document. I'm just listening to you because it's hard for me to look and listen.
Yeah. Well, if you want to find that document, I'm just worried about getting into a case while you're looking for a document that isn't going to be part of like the main stories. Unless it is.
Why can't it be in between?
I mean,
you want to do it first?
It can be, yeah. Any of the updates? I think so.
I mean, I don't know that a document is necessarily an update, but here, I think it might be this. I'm not organized at all right now. Oh, gosh. Yeah,
I'm not that organized right now either, so it's okay. This is unscripted, and we figure it out as we go. I think that's one of the benefits of this show. It's kind of nice. So I don't want to get into the other two because they're so important to like paying attention. So why don't you just find that, and I'll talk a little bit about the Apple River case.
Yes, that's what I thought you were doing. That's what we should do, because I do think the witness testimonies are so ridiculous that they should definitely be highlighted and talked about.
Yeah.
Did you watch the guy who said he saw a man with a hat and a phone taking pictures?
Yeah.
And that was his first interaction in the whole situation?
Yeah. Let me pull up the pictures, at least the thumbnails, so people know exactly who we're talking about.
Because that felt really weird. That whole testimony felt really weird.
Okay, so you're talking about this guy right here. So hang on one second.
I'm really bad with names too. Like, there's a lot of people who cover this case that know all the or talk about the case, not even covering it. Just talk about it, who automatically know their names, and I have a hard time.
So this young kid right in the middle, right there, the one that says, "I don't remember that." After we're done here, I'll put all the links in the description box for the show, you guys. That way, for all the people that are watching on all the other platforms, all you got to do is come over to YouTube and I will have the links in there. None of the other ones allow us to do links unless I post another ad and put all the links in there, which I guess I can do once I pull them all together. But one of the testimonies is this kid right here, who you're seeing right in the middle. His name is Larion Davis. And like, let me give you a rundown, because yes, this is a good one to give an example of just how bad some of the witness testimony was. So we talked about the Apple River case yesterday. Malia gave you the brief breakdown, and it is essentially the man on the top thumb that you're seeing there, Nicolae Miu, and he was looking for his friend's phone in the Apple River. He started getting bullied, and it escalated to the point where they were calling him a child predator, and he started getting assaulted, or some people say that he assaulted first. I don't know, because there is no actual evidence of that. But ultimately, he ended up pulling out a knife. It was him and 13 people around him, and he cut 4 people extensively. I mean, really extensively. And I think there were 16 witnesses, statements between the defense and the state. This kid, Larion Davis, was one of them. He was in a group that didn't know anybody, and he had given a statement to the police talking about he saw this man, the top thumb, okay, Nicolae Miu, come out of the bushes with a hat on, with a coat on, and with pants on, looking for trouble. Okay. And essentially what he told them is that he came out of the bushes, started stabbing people, and then ran away back into the bushes. Okay. We have video evidence of what really happened, and that is nowhere near what really happened. And what's even crazier to me is that he recorded it. Okay. He recorded it, Larion Davis, that kid. He recorded the footage from a good distance away. They were probably, based on the fuzzy footage that you can't see anything, otherwise I'd pull it up and show you. If I had to guesstimate, I would say 50 yards away, between 30 and 50 yards away. His phone ended up getting water damage, and you can no longer see the footage anymore. It's completely gone. So when they were dealing with that, and he was when they were dealing with that, and the defense attorney had come out and started questioning him, what is wild, and I saw this with every single witness that came out, is none of them were willing to admit they were wrong. It was a really weird situation. And what I mean by that is, like, the entire conversation that they were having with the defense attorney was non-stop argumentative. It is just non-stop, endlessly argumentative. So, like, he said that he was willing, that he saw this guy come out in a jacket, in a hat, and pants, and stab people, and then run back into the bushes. And instead of just admitting, hey, I got it wrong, that was 2 years ago, I was going through a really traumatic event, and my memory was getting mixed in with the other people's in the area. So ignore anything I said previously, because that was me, in shock, trying to give information based off hearing what other people had said and my own experience. And let me tell you what I remember now. And we went so far, I haven't even gone through all 16 yet. So far, all 7 or 8 that I've seen are exactly the same way. Exactly the same way.
All of the witness statements?
The ones I've watched, yep. So I prioritized the kids first.
Yeah.
I prioritized the kids first because I wanted to understand their perspective, because the news media, mainstream media, was very good about covering Nicolae Miu's side of the not his defense side, but like what happened from his perspective, right? They were very open and clear that, hey, these people got stabbed because he was being pushed down in the water, yada, yada, yada. So like, I understood that. I needed to hear the kids' statements, and that's where I started. And almost every single one of them that I watched got crazier and crazier and crazier. So did I start with his? I don't think I started with his. Let me see. Hang on. I'm going to have to pull it up in my history.
What was really interesting to me was none of them being able to remember the supposed punch that started all of the savagery. You know what I mean? Like the actual part where people got injured.
Yeah, as you can see right there, you guys, look.
I mean, that's so tiny.
That's probably the one kid who, here, I mean, I'll blow it up. That's probably the one kid who got it worst based on what I've seen so far. It actually shows the video on here where the knife goes into him. You don't see any BLO, but you can see it. Like you can see very clearly where it goes into him. And that one's more tough to me than the other kid who ended up losing his life. The other one looks a lot worse on Nicolae Miu than that one does, because that kid was aggressively coming at him.
Yeah.
When he put he went from a resting hand. So he had one hand on his knee, and he was laying on his back in the water, the other hand on the ground, and he saw this person coming at him on his right side, on the hand that was leaning on the ground that had the knife and was holding his weight. He saw him coming and switched hands, but when he switched hands, he stuck his hand out, and the kid literally walked right into it. That kid that has the scar right there walked right into it. That one's a tough one. If that was the only person that got met with the knife, I would have a hard time convicting him on that. However, the other ones are pretty tough. They don't look good for him.
Yeah.
Yep. It doesn't look like a defensive, I'm moving backwards, trying to get away. And I said this the other night. I still want to wait to give my opinion on what I think, guilty or not yet. But you guys, I don't think there's any way, there is no chance out there that anything else could be said that I don't think Nicolae Miu wouldn't deserve time. I think he deserves time, period. I think he deserves time. I don't think it would fall under what people are comparing it to as the stand your ground law in Florida, and maybe in another state he would have gotten away with it in a stand your ground state or a defend yourself state or whatever. That doesn't mean that I personally think that's what would be fair, though. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I say that is, like I said last night, is I've been in situations and seen situations where weapons have been pulled in a defensive manner, not aggressive manner.
Right.
Okay. You can use a weapon to say, I'm backing up, do not come near me, or, you know, it's going to have to pursue. Your body language can say that.
Yeah.
Your words can say that. But he was never backing up, you guys. He was never trying to get out of there.
Well, that's
from
why
what I saw.
That's in another state, again, like Florida or something, where stand your ground is a thing. I really don't think he would have been convicted. I really don't. I think it's the state he's in, because the laws in Wisconsin are that you have to say something first. Like, you have to warn the person, and you can't use like excessive force. You know what I'm saying?
Someone says, FYI, Mike from Red Bar is streaming right now, showing leaked docs exposing you for being into feet and other sick stuff. Cool. Awesome. But anyways, so going back to what I was saying, what did you just say?
Isn't it obvious that like I like feet?
Yeah, duh. What's embarrassing about that? Listen, you guys, I've said it from the beginning. There's nothing out there that you're gonna make me feel some type of way about. You're not gonna find anything.
Me either.
if my job allowed it, I would be completely transparent. Unfortunately, I can't. So, you know, I know we have people targeting us and trying to give threats and all that stuff. Listen, any threat on breaking the law, which, I mean, that's one of them. I'm just going to wait till after the stream, though. But any threat on safety or anything like that, listen, it just goes straight to cyber crimes, FBI cyber crimes, you guys. Like, I follow all laws. I follow all rules. So, cool. You know, feet aren't my thing. So, obviously, that's not true. And I would tell you if they were my thing.
They're my thing. Just kidding.
Awesome.
I'm just kidding.
So, going back to what you were saying, what did you just say before that? And I appreciate that. Keep them coming, please. But what were you saying?
What was I saying?
I don't know. We got in a tangent about feet.
Because feet are great.
Yeah, but let's get back to what we were talking about.
So it was something to in another state. The
stand your ground. The stand your
ground.
ground.
So I think from the polling, the polling convinces me that the data, the statistics, they convince me of that because of how split people were that were watching this. Like, you had, oh my gosh, let me look at how many votes were on that. It was so many.
Yeah,
it was a ridiculous amount of votes, and literally almost half, like more than half, said not guilty.
So can you pull up the poll today, because you pulled that up yesterday, and I would prefer...
no, because it's not still going.
Okay.
Like, it's not still an active
poll. I would
poll.
be curious to see that again, though, because yesterday when you showed that to me, I didn't understand it. I didn't have a good understanding of my opinion, what the kids were saying. Look, one thing I found really interesting during at least the 6 statements that I've watched so far is that the defense attorney very carefully but consistently asks the kids if they were coached by the state. Have you seen any of those yet to hear that? I watched these 6 from start to finish. It was probably 6 hours.
I don't think I watched all of them from literally start to finish.
Like 4 hours. But
I've seen all of them, like, but probably not from literally start to finish.
Or all 16.
All 16 witnesses?
Yeah.
No, probably not all 16 witnesses.
Okay.
I've seen a few. I probably haven't even seen all of the kids. I've seen a few of them and Nicolae.
Okay. So I haven't watched Nicolae yet intentionally. I want to see one full side first and then move to, you know, the opposing opinion, which I already have a good understanding of what he did. I just don't know what he's going to claim he was feeling and things that.
Dude, that's the thing. That's where I feel like he massively failed. And I don't know if it's a language barrier or he genuinely just lacks feeling or something. But I feel like, okay, if it were me in that situation, somebody who has feelings and empathy and cares about people and was like trying to defend myself in that situation and it got out of control and I hurt somebody, I would be there waiting for the cops. I would give the cops a weapon. I would tell them what happened. I would be upfront and honest. And then if I'm on trial for this, I would say how horrible I feel about it. And I was upfront and honest about it because I didn't want that to happen.
Yep. So
I felt in danger. I felt afraid. I felt like I was going to die.
Hey, what's going on?
I feel like
Twitch?
he
We see ya.
doesn't explain that well in his testimony, like at all.
Yeah. No, so again, I haven't seen his statement yet, but I have in between.
And the lying. He does not
Yeah.
explain, oh, I was afraid. That's why I was lying. Like, he doesn't. That's another way he could have explained, like, why he tried to evade cops and why he lied better. He could have done that way better. Because, like, the reasons he says is not like, look, this all happened and my head was out of sorts and I was afraid of getting in trouble. So, yeah, I lied. But I'm taking responsibility now.
Yeah.
He didn't say nothing like that.
Yeah, I just don't have any comments on that. The only thing I know having to do with that is in between videos today, I had time in between gathering information for work stuff. And so I started looking up opinions on this case, and so many people posted out there saying that he was his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
That he did it to himself. And what you're saying right now, which again, I can't comment on because I haven't seen his statement yet. I don't feel right doing that. But you are mimicking what so many other posts out there on Reddit, on Twitter, on all these other platforms are saying that he did it to himself by the lying, by the not coming to police right away and saying, hey, I was feeling threatened and this is what's going on. A lot of people like to highlight the fact that he threw the murder weapon. I don't think that matters. I think that would still be considered in shock and maybe you would throw it.
He said he wanted to get it away from himself.
Yeah.
So
at
yeah,
least
I could
be able to come to the police and say, hey, this is what happened. This is what I did. And be able to be transparent. And if, again, I haven't heard his testimony, if that's what I end up hearing, I think I'm going to have to agree with him. I will tell you, like I said from the beginning, though, is that in all of this, in what I've heard so far, I don't think there is any way, any type of way that I am going to have the opinion that he should be able to walk without any time.
Yeah.
I just don't think that is a fair outcome based on the videos that I've seen. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
God, look, if the state coached these kids, shame on you. If the state didn't coach these kids, you should have coached them unbiased and given an explanation on how they should have acted. Every single one of them.
I mean, they didn't appear to be coached.
Every single one of them appeared to be combative. Every single one of them appeared to be lying. Every single one of them appeared dishonest. And they did it all in their own regard, too. It wasn't even the defense attorney manipulating and grandstanding and making them look that way. They did it on their own. None of them gave straight answers. The only one that I felt like gave a straight answer is the kid in the light colored suit jacket. Did you watch that one? The kid in the light colored suit jacket, the one that actually did the 3 punches.
Oh, is he got curly hair?
No, that kid didn't punch.
He didn't?
No, that's the kid that got it the worst. The picture I just showed that's in the middle of the screen right there. He did not ever punch him. He pushed him when he was already on the ground.
Okay.
The one that punched him is a very light white kid with shorter hair, but a light colored suit jacket that looks a little bit too big for him. And I'm not trying to mean that in a mean way. That's just his appearance, you know. I'll pull it up here. But when he's the only one, and I feel like he had the most to lose, being the one that attacked him the most. He was the only one that at some point, in my opinion, gave up and was like, yes, this is what happened, you know, and started getting straight up, straightforward, yes or no statements to the defense attorney. Who did that defense attorney? Are you almost done?
Yeah, I have the document.
Okay. Who did that defense attorney cover again, you were saying?
That defense attorney?
Yeah.
You mean somebody they covered in the past?
Yeah. Yeah. A client in the past. You said he was a really big deal because he was on this case and this case and this case.
I don't know. You
just talked about it yesterday.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yep. And based on how he acted, I tend to agree with you, but I was just curious what cases he's been in because of his composure, because of his setup. He was absolutely playing a long game of chess with these guys and knew how to stay out of their way to let them dig their own hole. He knew it was intentional, 100% intentional. 100% intentional.
Okay,
it's not manipulative. I don't think it was not trying to hide the truth. I think that it was one of the most honest ways to approach a horrible situation like this.
Is this who you're talking about?
Yes.
His name is Corey, oh gosh, Chirafisi or something like that. I'm really sorry if I just botched his name. I've never seen that last name before.
Hang on. Let me just make sure.
Yeah, it is him. That's literally what I searched.
Yeah, but Aaron Nelson. I think it's Aaron, right?
I mean, he's probably got multiple people.
Yeah, this is him. So Aaron Nelson, I believe. Let me open this up and triple check real quick. Names are like my weakest.
That's both of them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's both of his attorneys.
Yeah, you're right. It is that one. It is the bald dude.
So it's Corey?
That was doing the questioning, I believe so. Yeah. I need to pull one of those videos up. To be honest, I wasn't paying attention to the defense attorney, and you can barely see the defense. Most of the testimony, I would say 99% of the time, the testimony is on the witnesses. So yeah. Whoever it was, though, they have someone was saying that they covered the Rittenhouse case, and whoever was the lead in questioning, okay, he did all of the kids, and he was amazing, absolutely incredible, insane, incredible.
He's considered a super lawyer.
I don't doubt it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I repeated something I heard said, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
He looks like he Oh, it's Kyle Rittenhouse. That's who he
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, you did? I was looking for it.
That's what one of the thought writers told us too. So,
okay.
Yeah, thank you guys.
That was it. Now that makes a bunch of sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't even listening because I was trying to find it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was asking when you were done with your document, because normally when you're pulled in two different directions, it's hard to stay on one topic.
No, I just don't hear anything when I'm reading something.
Yeah. But
selective hearing, I guess.
It was incredible questioning, and the prosecutor was nowhere near at the level of experience that the defense attorneys were.
Why do you think it didn't matter in this case, though?
What do you mean, why do I think it didn't matter? I think that Miu, the defendant, the older man that you're seeing on the picture right there, I'll pull him up real quick, you guys. I think he's the reason. I think he's the sole reason. I think he did it to himself. I think that if he wouldn't have lied, if he would have showed some sort of empathy, if he would have shown that that's a weird picture of him, but okay. I think that if he wouldn't have lied and he would have, you know, shown some sort of humanity, made a connection with the jurors on a human level.
That's a terrible picture of him.
It would have been a very, very, very different outcome.
Yeah.
Very different outcome.
I agree. I mean, I do feel, honestly, in some respects, I feel a little bit bad for him, but like when I don't know, I've been thinking about the smile. The smile. Did you watch the video and see the smile that I was talking about?
Yep.
Do you feel like it was an actual smile?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. So
I have part of me that feels like he was enjoying himself a little.
Yeah. The reason why I don't think it matters is because when I was younger, I don't know why it changed, but there was a time where when I was in trouble, I was one of those kids that couldn't not laugh and smile when I was really uncomfortable. So like I would be in huge trouble. Like I got in a fight in 4th grade. Okay. Like really big trouble. They're talking about, you know, kicking me out for a week, suspending me for a week and calling my parents and stuff like that. And I couldn't stop laughing, like hysterical laughter. And I was so uncomfortable and worried and scared. So like ever since that time in my life, I have a hard time attaching any value to what facial expressions do when people are uncomfortable, because so many different people handle things differently when they're feeling uncomfortable in these situations. You know what I mean? So I don't think that laugh shows me anything. I don't think that it tells me anything. I don't think it adds any benefit to the situation. I just don't see anything beneficial from trying to make that connection and or assumption, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I see what you're saying, and I understand how a smile in that kind of situation could totally be just uncomfortability. It could be a lot of things. I mean, smiles can happen just from an overwhelming sense of like emotion. Same as crying. Crying can be from just feeling literally any emotion to the max.
Yeah.
It's a way your body releases it. So I totally get it that it could have not mean he was enjoying himself or was like, you know, I'm going to show these kids. But there's just something about him in that situation. And at first I leaned towards innocent completely. But then the more I watch the video, the more I think about the case, I'm like, I don't know. I think he should have been charged with something lesser, not murder one, but I kind of agree with the jury a little bit.
I'm currently leaning that direction. I just don't know yet because I feel like this is another situation where I don't have all the facts yet. And I have a very hard time personally creating a puzzle and telling you what that puzzle image is without having all the pieces. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's interesting. For sure. I got to go to the restroom real quick. So
are we going to move on from this then?
We can always come back to it too if you want to start that document so it's not dead air.
So I I just saw that this was filed on Twitter because people are always posting like the log from the court in Delphi and what's going on, like what's being filed. And I just saw this and saw people talking about news articles, talking about a motion to suppress Richard Allen's confessions. So this document goes into some more details about his conditions in prison. And like, you guys remember back when he was losing it and there were media reports of him saying that, or not him, of him, his confessions and him supposedly eating papers, like the papers that his lawyers would give him, he would wet them and eat them. Well, apparently it was a lot worse than that. A lot worse, which I am not completely shocked by, because I think he literally was losing his mind. And you can say what you will about what you think that means as far as his guilt or innocence. I don't think it's neither here nor there. I think he was losing his mind because he was being abused, being held in a prison in the pre-trial phase, I think he was straight up being abused. The whole thing with the Odinist guards, people thought the whole Odinism thing was total BS, but that thing with the guards, I think, legitimized the theory like a lot. Finding out that he was indeed being guarded by Odinist guards that were wearing these patches. And we dug into the dates a while back on when those guards put out their affidavits saying, yes, I do wear these patches. The dates line up too perfectly. Like, Richard Allen's incarcerated, then one of them is hired. I think both of them were hired around the same time. And the one that I remember most is he's hired right after Richard Allen's incarcerated and put in the prison. And then within a couple months, Richard Allen's moved to A-Pod or whatever. And he is literally in a couple months is promoted and transferred to be the lead over Richard Allen's pod.
It is so insane. I know.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And
it looks super shady. Like, he was literally hired after Richard Allen was incarcerated in that facility. And then he was promoted so quickly to be over this defendant, who is the highest profile defendant in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, here's
and he's wearing patches, and the warden is allowing him to on a DOC uniform.
Yeah.
And then once he was told not to wear them anymore, he went and got it tattooed on something on his face.
Yeah.
An Odinist tattoo on his face and posted it to social media.
Yeah.
So he clearly
like a literal picture or a literal video getting it done.
Yeah. Was it Thor's hammer or something like that? I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember, but it was associated with that. And I know it's on our Twitter or something. So, but yeah, absolutely.
So, this goes into more details of his conditions, and you weren't here for the explanation, but this is a memorandum of law in support of Defendant Allen's motion to suppress.
Yeah.
They're trying to suppress his confession.
I mean, listen, I think that there is legitimate evidence why they might be able to do that.
So if you guys haven't been following this case, this is the case of Libby and Abby in Delphi, Indiana, who were sadly murdered off the Menonhai Bridge in Delphi, Indiana. I think I already said that. Back in 2017. Well, this case was cold for what was it, 5 years?
Yep.
It was 5 years. And then Richard Allen was arrested. And I think everybody pretty much believed it was him till you read the affidavit and was like, whoa, they have like not good evidence. Their biggest piece of evidence is an unspent bullet. A bullet that was discharged out of the gun without being shot.
Yeah, that was found
Striations.
after they desecured, like opened up the crime scene area, and then in 24 hours resecured it.
Right. So it had been unsecured, then resecured, and then that's when they found it buried in the dirt. So that's like a really not good piece of evidence. But anyway, this whole thing, you know, I think everybody was like on track, even though the PCA wasn't great. Nobody understood really what was going on in this case at all. We had heard only rumors of what the crime scene was, nothing official ever at any point, until the defense came out with the Franks motion, which was to get the search warrant and Richard Allen's arrest overturned. And it came with an attached 136-page memorandum, which is where the Odinist theory comes from, which I believe has legs, that it's possible. It's definitely possible that what the defense has alleged is true. Which is why these Odinist guards are so important, and how Richard Allen is being detained in a high security prison instead of a county jail as a normal pretrial detainee. It matters. And the fact that he had these guards watching over him who were only hired right after he was put in that facility, and then they were promoted so quickly. And then you have the judge stepping down and a new special judge being appointed who's been nothing but biased this entire time. The whole case feels like such a mess. It feels like corruption at its finest. Okay. Like, I can't think of another case out there that feels this corrupt.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's a railroad is what it feels like.
That is what it feels like, and I just don't know if there's more to it, because again, you guys, like we actively try to make sure that we are unbiased in these topics, okay? Is there more to this story that we just haven't been allowed to see yet? I don't know, but how it currently stands, it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it.
With these confessions, there was a point where, you know, Richard Allen was being overseen by these Odinist guards and his mental health was declining severely. There were media reports of him eating paper. You know, he was losing a ton of weight and he did not look good. Okay. No. He looked awful. Well, this document goes deeper into his conditions and how he was. Okay, so here we'll read this part. Prison records reflect that Allen was placed on a unaliving yourself watch during the majority of his stay at Westville Correctional Facility, including upon his initial detention of November 2022. This occurred despite the fact there were no underlying findings to suggest he was even going to hurt himself. His designation of being someone who would hurt themselves subjected him to even harsher circumstances than those of other offenders on the unit. For example, his bed consisted of a metal plate with a thin mattress, all of which was just a few inches from the concrete floor. Allen was issued an anti-unaliving yourself smock, which covered his body no better than that of a garment of a caveman. So he was naked, other than that thing that was draped over his body so he couldn't hurt himself. Allen's food was served to him through a cuff portal, and his dining habits involved him sitting on his bed or on the floor, as his cell was not equipped with a table or a chair that would otherwise serve even as a rudimentary dining arrangement. Allen's cell also contained a steel toilet and a sink, both in direct line of sight of the inmates and guards assigned to his surveillance. Dude, this gets really crazy. I want to know what you think, because I'm not familiar with how jail works at all. I don't think you, well, you know, because of people you know that have been in jail, right? Like, I don't know where all your knowledge comes from it, but you seem to know something about jail and prison. So, I mean, his toilet being close, that's in jail too. Like, I've been in a holding cell and look, it's nasty. All of them.
It depends on if it's an open holding cell or if it's a single cell. I would assume that they have had him and have him in a single cell where he doesn't even have a cellie.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't think he did. He was alone. He was alone.
Yeah.
And it says that Allen's attorneys learned that Allen was not only under constant surveillance, but that the lights remained on in his cell for many days and nights, which, if you guys don't know,
that's kind of messed up.
That's a torture. Jeez. That's a straight up torture tactic that they will use, that they have used in prisoners of war. You put them in a cell and you never turn off the lights, and it drives people insane. It's not good for the human brain. So if he's on a mental health watch, essentially, putting him in a cell with the lights constantly on, you're literally setting him up to be insane.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is also true that due to his unaliving self-watch, he was afforded less or no recreation time and less of an opportunity for showers. In essence, his unaliving self-designation was the cause for the removal of additional privileges, which is pretty awful when you're worried about their mental health. Like, going outside is super important. So essentially says he was deprived of any social interaction, very little to no privacy, limited recreation time, and was left to entertain himself. So hold on. I want to get to the part they talk about how he was chained up. You know, we've heard it described as him being chained up as Hannibal Lecter before. As if this restriction of his basic freedom of movement was not enough, prison officials assigned a videographer to Allen to record his movements around the prison, including when he would meet with his lawyers. Have you ever heard of that? An inmate being assigned a videographer? That they are,
I've never heard
100% of the time filmed, no matter where they go, even with their lawyers?
I've never heard of any of this. None of it. I know that we've read the document before where every single time that he talked to his lawyers, he was up in some contraption or some single person, like, holding area box booth thing. That there is nothing that is standard about this case.
Oh, I should have mentioned actually how he was shackled. So it says he was shackled with ankle cuffs, a belly chain, box cuffs on his hands, and guided around by guards with a lead, or what most people would refer to as a leash.
Oh, okay.
What the heck?
Wow.
What the heck, dude? They were just dehumanizing him to the max, like as literally trying to make it as bad for him as possible without killing him, is what it seems like, or causing severe bodily harm in a way that people could see. Because if it's just his mental health, then he can be blamed for that, not them. You know?
Yeah.
So during all the meetings between him and his attorneys, it was hard for him to drink water. He would not be able to communicate as much as a hand gesture due to his shackled state. Prison officials placed a video camera outside of the visitation room every lawyer visit. We knew that. Allen's highly unusual detention circumstance extended even to visits with his wife. During one visit, Allen was transported outside of WCU, which this is Westville we're talking about, to a building reserved for visitation for those inmates and general population. He was shackled and confined during the transport and ultimately re-robed into a green jumpsuit before seeing his wife. He was, however, unshackled during the visit. His embrace with his wife was controlled by prison protocol, which permitted only a few brief seconds of contact, despite the fact that he had not seen his wife for the better part of 6 months. I mean, I think this is somewhat standard, though. It seems like they almost tried to clean him up before he saw his wife, is what it kind of sounded like, which is kind of interesting.
It's manipulative. It is. It proves guilt. I mean, it proves so many different things because look, the way that our prisoners are handled, whether they're in prison or jail, and unfortunately they have him in prison, which he should have never been anyways, but he is, okay. They have him in prison, and it should all be publicly open and available unless they're being punished because they did something that broke the rules, you know, in that prison. So none of it is standard, and all of it is some of the most bizarre things that I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Literally the craziest things I have ever seen in my life, you guys.
It is crazy. This also talks about the Odinist guards. It's basically just a recap, though. And it talks about how on one occasion, one of the guards tased Richard Allen, even though he was already secured in his cell, just because he wouldn't put his hands back inside from the cuff port. That they tased him for that.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So
it also
just because
he wasn't doing exactly what they wanted him to do, which he wasn't a threat to anybody. He was locked in his cell.
Yeah, that's insane.
It also talks about how Richard Allen has battled with depression most of his adult life, and how they do not believe that he was given his medication consistently. That they failed to give him his medication consistently. And we also have heard in the past that he was given pills that he didn't even know what they were.
Yeah, that's scary too. Extremely scary.
It is scary. It makes you wonder, like, what had they been giving him?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
But okay, so let's this says analysis. Okay, so they're alleging that Allen's detention circumstances were manufactured by the Carroll County Sheriff purposefully and without the existence of any sense of due process, as the court signed the safekeeping order without requiring the state to establish the burden of proof required by the statute. But this was just the beginning. Allen was shipped off to Westville and immediately placed on unaliving himself watch, where he had little to no accommodations. Not even those offered up to the other 2,000 convicted inmates housed across the prison yard. Almost simultaneous with Allen's isolation from human contact, prison companions were placed at his doorstep and tasked with the duty of reporting his every move and recording his every word.
Yeah.
Prisoners were assigned to watch him. How is that allowed? Since when do we make the prisoners the guards?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like, how is any of this flying, you guys? I'm so confused.
It's like setting them up to be harmed, maybe. I don't know.
It does feel like that. I think it does. Look, the defense has rushed this trial. It's coming in like, what, 50 days?
Yeah.
They have rushed it, and I think it's because they're afraid he's going to die, because they will not take him out of prison. They will not.
This is another situation where I don't understand.
And they believe he's innocent.
The Department of justice the DOJ isn't getting,
or human rights activists or anybody. Like, I don't understand how people aren't protesting the courthouse steps at this point.
That is the DOJ in those situations whenever there's any human rights violations, or they need to, you know, corrections or whatever, that's where you go through. So
yeah.
So
it says these companions, okay, these prisoners that were placed outside his door, appear to have gone above and beyond this duty by communicating with Allen about his case and even praying with him as he struggled to withstand the rigors of his incarceration. They also cite an audio statement of guard Michael Roberts, minute 38. So they have some kind of proof of that. Their mere presence at his doorstep is akin to, and they cite a court case, Messiah v. United States, I don't know what that is, where police obtained incriminating statements from a jailhouse informant who engaged the defendant in a conversation and developed a relationship of trust and confidence with the defendant, such that he revealed incriminating information about the charged crime when counsel was not present. So you guys, it was a while back. I reposted this documentary that is literally about that. It is about them assigning informants, other prisoners who are informants, to a cell right next to a high profile individual that they want to confess, and make them befriend them, make them get information from them. And this has been going on way more
for like
than
100 years.
Yeah. And it's been going on like at a high level, a lot. It happens a lot.
They've not only put in federal agents to do time and get close to people, but yes, they will also get a jailhouse, prison snitch, whatever you want to call it, to enter prison, federal prison, state, private jails, whatever, to get the inner workings, hear things and whatnot, and get close to people. Yeah.
I'll have to find that documentary again and retweet it, because it's insane and it lays it out so well.
And there's even a Netflix show about it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Gosh, who was it? Was it? I don't think it was Wahlberg. I don't know.
Is it like a movie?
Yeah. I don't remember if it's a movie or a TV show, but it was really good, where this guy was in trouble. They gave him an offer to go into jail. And I think he was in there for like a non-violent crime, but they needed to put him into a violent prison. And he did it to get all of his charges reduced and dropped and everything like that.
I mean, there's some informants who do it over and over and over and over. Like, that documentary was so good. I will retweet it for sure, because it really lays it out really well. And I had no idea this was something that was happening all the time, constantly. Like, this happens all the time. It's a regular thing. And it's really messed up, actually. Super messed up. What's weird to me is they're not even trying to hide it. They have these prisoners posted outside his door like they're guards. They're not even trying to hide that they're messing with him, okay? It does not surprise me at all that he ended up confessing, considering the treatment. And wait till we get to some of the most horrific things in a minute. He was totally losing his mind, and he probably felt threatened, like he was going to die or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, the fact that he's being filmed everywhere, the fact that he's being left with the lights on, tased when he just won't put his hands inside his cell, even though he's locked in there, the way he's being chained up and led around by a leash. I mean, prisoners as guards, like all this stuff. And it gets worse.
And make sure you guys hit that like button, hit those 5 stars button, leave us a rating, a review. I think we got like 780 people in here right now. So whatever platform you're on, give us a rating. It helps out the show. It helps us get far and wide, and it's all because of you, and we appreciate you for it. If you want to join in the chat, the most active chat is YouTube by far. So if you want to come join the chat, come join the fun. We are on YouTube at Thought Riot Podcast. You can just spell it out, Thought Riot Podcast. We are on every social media, Thought Riot Podcast. So come hang out, come chat, and come have some fun. If not, and you want to hang out and just watch on the platform you're on, hit that thumbs up or stars button for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that case that they cited, Messiah v. United States, it's a 1964 case, and they cited it because in that case where they used a jailhouse informant to get information from the defendant to get him to confess, the court held that it was improper and suppressed the statements. That's why they're citing it. Yeah. The trial court's decision regarding admissibility of a confession or incriminating statement is controlled by determining from the totality of the circumstances whether the statement was given voluntarily rather than induced through violence, threats, coercion, or other improper influence as to overcome the defendant's free will. And I agree with that. So there's this argument in this case, okay, in that Richard Allen didn't confess while he was being interrogated, meaning it shouldn't be thrown out. That's the argument I keep hearing, and I don't agree, considering these Odinist guards and his treatment. There's a reason all these things happened.
I agree.
These are not all coincidences.
I agree.
There's a reason he's being held in prison. There's a reason Odinist guards are guarding him. There's a reason that prisoners were guarding him and talking to him and trying to give him some kind of moral support, and he was essentially being tortured and dehumanized, which did make him start losing it. So his reduced was, okay, so his healthiest accommodations came in the form of recreation time that not to exceed 4 hours per week. Okay. In this space, there was not enough room to jog or run, only an exercise bike and a pull-up bar. Other accommodations would have been a window slit that was inside his cell. Okay. That's not what I want to see. I want to see the part. This is an 11-page document, and I'm looking for literally one part. I wish I had highlighted this ahead of time.
It's all good. I have to go to the bathroom again.
Are you kidding me?
Man, look, I'm a diabetic, okay? And I pound Celsius like more than I breathe air.
You're supposed to be jabbering while I'm looking.
Yeah.
Not going to the bathroom.
This is new information, so I don't have much to talk about. It's really hard for me when we bring new information and I don't know it because I don't have anything to comment. I mean, yeah, when it comes to Delphi, I mean, I feel like we've talked about this until we've been blue in the face that in my opinion, the FBI should have been brought back. You know, I know there's a lot of situations out there, you guys, where the FBI doesn't feel like they have the best interest of the public or communities or defendant or victim or anybody except for the feds themselves. But in this situation, they 100% were the driving force behind the Odinist theory. They were the driving force behind focusing on looking at another angle. They were the driving force behind everything, every real progress made in this case. Every real progress made in this case.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. I mean, this case just feels so weird. It feels so weird. Sometimes
that would be awesome.
I mean, it's literally
a shirt with my face on it that says, I don't know. All right, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Are you know nothing or something?
Yeah,
I know nothing. Yeah. Okay. So I don't really want Brendan to miss this, but maybe like I'll just read the first part because it's not that big of a he's not missing the meat of it, I guess. So Okay, so in Blackburn v. State of Alabama, 1960, the United States Supreme Court noted that it had recognized that coercion can be mental as well as physical, and that the BLOOD of the accused is not only the hallmark of an unconstitutional inquisition. A number of cases have demonstrated, if demonstration were needed, that the efficiency of the rack and the thumb screw can be matched, given the proper subject, by more sophisticated modes of persuasion. A prolonged interrogation of an accused who is ignorant of his rights and who has been cut off from the moral support of friends and relatives is not infrequently an effective technique of terror. Thus, the range of inquiry in this type of case must be broad, and this court has insisted that the judgment in each instance be based upon consideration of the totality of the circumstances. And I think that's really good case law to cite, like really, really good, because it is like an extended form of an interrogation. I mean, that is what it's like, 100%. It feels like he's like a prisoner of war. For real. That's what it feels like. So, wait, is this? So here, Allen endured a longer, more sustained form of interrogation, one that lasted more than 5 months before he was finally broken. Already suffering from a bona fide mental health disorder, and then having been cut off from the moral support of his wife, mother, and daughter, Allen was weakened to the point where he slipped into a state of psychosis plagued with grossly disorganized, delusional, paranoid, and highly dysfunctional behavior. These behaviors were manifested through verbal confessions that he may have been drugged, verbal confessions to the double homicide, inconsistent with known facts about the crime scene. Did you just hear that?
Yeah.
These behaviors were manifest through verbal confessions that he may have been drugged, verbal confessions to the double homicide, inconsistent with known facts about the crime scene, periods of not sleeping for days, paranoia, stripping off his clothes, drinking toilet water, covering himself with and eating his own feces, and many other socially unacceptable behaviors. That is way worse than what we heard about him just eating paper. He was drinking toilet water and eating his own feces and covering himself with it.
So my big question there then, if I'm the defense attorney or if I'm any attorney, if I'm an investigator, is what is the common denominator and what changed to cause the now change in his behavior?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, his mental health and behavior got better after the Odinist guards were removed.
Yep. Okay. So I'm pulling up enhanced interrogation techniques used by the military and CIA. Okay. So let me see here. Okay. This is just Wikipedia, you guys. Otherwise, I'd share it. It's directly off Wikipedia. So take it, for what it is. We all know Wikipedia is not a 100% confirmed source. It is driven by peer review, essentially, of the public. But enhanced interrogation techniques, or enhanced interrogation, was a program of systematic torture of detainees by the Central Intelligence Agency or the Defense Intelligence Agency and various components of the U.S. Armed Forces at remote sites around the world, including, I'm not even going to go into those. So methods used included beating, binding, contorted stress positions, hooding, subjection of deafening noise, sleep disruption. Okay. And under sleep disruption, you have lighting, you have the noise, you have repeated wake ups, you have water, whatnot, sleep deprivation to the point of hallucination, deprivation of food, drink, and medical care for wounds, as well as, and they don't do this anymore, you guys, but waterboarding, as far as we know, walling, humiliation of all sorts, okay? And assaults. So, yeah, what you're reading right now, a few of those are right in this list.
Even SA.
Yeah.
Which is
correct.
Horrible.
Yep. And there's something called white room torture, which is what you're talking about. But I think they take away any faculties as well. I could be wrong, you guys, so don't take my word for it. Just like we say about everything. I mean it when I say I don't know anything. I know one thing in life. And that one thing that I know is that I don't know anything, okay? It's all learned knowledge. So anything you hear from us, go and verify it, do your own research, come to your own conclusions. I just hope to be a carrot on a stick, right? To know that information is out there. But with the white room, I'm pretty sure they take away any faculties. So like no sink, no toilet, no bed.
What?
And it is a lighted room that they do not turn off. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
So it's just all white and there's nothing in there at all. It's a white blank room.
I think so. Yep. I'm pretty sure.
And it's always light?
I guess I could search it, but
I think
that
sounds pretty horrible.
Yeah. Yep. Deprived of all colors. So it's all white, light, walls, floor, ceiling, removed of. Yeah. So no sound, no voices. Everything's taken out of it. Yep. Wild stuff. So, is that what we're seeing here? You know, it's interesting.
So
it's interesting for sure.
Let's get into the details of the confession. It is interesting because I feel like there's really something there.
Did we say something last night about being vegan? Because for some reason we got like multiple questions yesterday asking if we were vegan, and I don't know. I was just curious if we talked about it in there or something. And I was thinking, no way. I've never been vegan before, and I can't think of a situation where I've talked about being vegan.
No, we talked about Pro Burger.
Oh.
Pro Burgers.
Okay. Maybe that's why they were asking. Maybe I made a comment about like veganism and I didn't know what I was
said somebody
about.
should make a vegan burger called a Pro Burger.
Oh.
It was a joke.
Okay.
It was a joke.
That makes so much more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So then they would automatically assume like, are you vegan then? You know?
No,
it's because
I'm not vegan.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I love empanadas. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So this goes into some details about the confessions, which is really interesting. So it says on one occasion, Alan confessed to, can I say that word?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I would just say abusing, like SA.
Essaying. Yeah, he confessed to essaying the two girls and shooting them in the back. See, and there's neither one of them were shot, you guys. That is not at all what's been reported. So that was one of his confessions. On another occasion, he professed his sorrow for essaying Abby, Libby, and others which he specifically named. These facts are known to be falsities, none of which are supported by the autopsy findings by Dr. Roland Kaur as to the cause of death of the girls, and unsupported by the absence of any evidence that either one of the girls were essayed near or before the time of their death.
Oh.
So neither one of the girls were ever essayed and were never shot. They were never shot. That's great news.
That is amazing. And I think that also helps us understand the crime scene a little bit better.
It does help us understand the crime scene a little bit better, because that most likely means the motives were not that.
Yeah. That's just one more,
but it's great to know,
torturous aspect that they would have had to have gone through,
which is awful.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm glad they didn't have to go through that. But obviously, they went through other things that were horrific.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I wish none of it ever happened, but
look,
I'm glad this 100%. One extra thing didn't happen to them.
Yeah.
At least there's that.
What I'm saying is like, okay, the fact that I don't think it's there makes the potential suspect a smaller pool of people.
Okay.
Because it is very common for child abusers to evolve into something like this, okay? And then they could have been sexually motivated, and then something happened and one of them ended up passing, so then they staged the crime scene to look like it wasn't that. So when you take that out of it, this is just ending lives. I think it makes the suspect pool smaller.
It gives more weight to me to the Odinist theory, honestly.
Yeah.
And everybody talked about, you know, Anthony Schatz and the Keegan Kline and his father and a pedophile ring and all these things. If there was a pedophile ring, don't you think there would be some indication of SA? Would we see this ritual thing at all?
Like I said, the ritual makes more sense if it's being done to cover something up.
Yeah.
But since that is taken out of it, I'm telling you, I bet if you asked a professional, which I am not a professional profile, but I bet you if you asked a professional, that makes the suspect pool much smaller. There's a reason why the FBI targeted the Odinist or ritual focused crime very quickly. They targeted two separate theories, Ron Logan and the Odinist theory, or you know, ritualistic. I don't know if they called it Odinist, but a ritualistic crime.
Yeah.
You know?
So continuing. At the time Allen uttered these falsities, the state's actors were in the ready position with pen in hand, documenting the entirety of Allen's mental and physical deterioration and actions stemming therefrom. The infringements on Allen's legal rights didn't stop here. Inmate companions then spread the good word of Allen's confessions to inmates and general population at Westville, prompting these inmates to then share the information with their respective family members in public. Proof of these leaks were offered up by the state in the form of audio recorded interviews and accompanying transcripts, and included in large volumes of discovery dumps received by the defense in the recent past. However, neither Allen nor his legal team were aware of any self-reporting of said leaks by the state to the defense or by the state to the court, despite the fact that the state was aware of this information as early as May 12, 2023, when Patton and Elliott were interviewed by investigators. They're saying his due process rights have been violated and ignored, which I agree. They have been very much so.
Yeah. And again, this goes back to being one of those situations. It's the same rock and hard place here where, you guys, what if Richard Allen is guilty? It doesn't feel like he is, okay? But I just want to lay this out there for everyone. We don't have all the evidence.
We don't
know everything. We're getting little bits and pieces, okay? So Richard Allen could be guilty, and this madhouse of insanity of pointing fingers, casting blame, and endless bias in the court system, it puts at risk a legitimate trial. It risks it.
I think he could absolutely win in an appeal due to everything that has happened so far.
Oh, I think if there was any other judge, which alone proves there's bias.
Yeah. There's a massive issue here, but that's the end of it. You know, they're asking for his confessions to be suppressed and not be used as evidence in the trial. This last statement I think is good. The truth of falsity The truth or falsity of Allen's statements are of no consequence to this analysis. Allen has been treated unlike any other pretrial detainee in Indiana in recent history. Honestly, like any other pretrial detainee anywhere in the country. I have never heard of treatment like this of a pretrial detainee Never, like in history. The methodology employed by the justice system is one of first impression, and therefore the circumstances created by this methodology should not be part of any consideration of Allen's guilt or innocence. The system of pretrial detention employed against Allen runs afoul of the 5th and 6th Amendments of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 14 of the Indiana State Constitution. It is for these reasons any and all incriminating statements made by Allen while incarcerated should be suppressed.
Yeah.
They're claiming his rights were violated, like numerous
I don't think
constitutional rights.
But, you know.
Dude, I think they should. I think if any judge were on the case, they would, like any decent judge would say, okay, let's suppress the confession. Gull?
That's who
I don't
consider.
Would Judge Gull? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But there's some other documents that I'm going to go over and talk about, because there's actually been quite a bit that's been happening in the case. I mean, this case is moving so quickly because trial is coming up so fast. There's documents coming out constantly, but there's some important ones that I have seen recently that I want to read and, talk about soon. If there's any that you guys want us to go over, anything you've heard about in the case that you want us to talk about, definitely send it our way and let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want justice for Abby and Libby. And if he's not the guy, he needs to be let go. We need to find the real people who did this.
Listen, that's my number one thing also.
Torturing this man is not going to bring justice to the girls. It just won't.
Yeah, that's the only thing that matters. Hang on one second. I really wanted to touch on something here that was really interesting. Okay, I think I found it here. Okay, so
So what case are we going into now?
Oh, no way. It's literally the first one. Okay. So we are going right into Sebastian Rogers. So, look, we've been covering this case a lot, you guys. We've talked about everything from top to bottom. We've talked about the possibility of his birth mother being guilty and the red flags that seem to be at hand. Okay. We have talked about all the different strange occurrences in the community with threats, with anything of that nature and or sort. We have talked about the search and the people helping the birth father, Seth, right? Now, to recap, and this is Sebastian Rogers here, you guys.
He was reported missing February 26th of this year. He's an autistic 15-year-old who really needs to be found.
Yeah, he does need to be found. So as you guys all know, Nancy Grace is a beast when it comes to anything child related. She is so aggressive. She's already aggressive, okay? But when it comes to including a child. I think she turns her aggression up to 12
She
from
does.
the 10, you know?
She totally does.
And one of the things that she did when talking to the birth mother and stepfather, right? Because he has a split parent home, is she first offers the stepfather a lie detector test, okay? And this is already after the community has seen a whole bunch of red flags, issues, questions, concerns, and everything in between, all right? Now, he says that TBI, who is not the leading investigative agency here, told him not to do it.
Right.
We questioned it. We wondered, okay? We were like, wait, what?
Right.
Why would TBI have any say in this anyways, right? Well, he backed out of it. He didn't do it. And then the birth father did it. Seth, okay, went on Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace offered to give a lie detector test to him as well, a polygraph test, and he agreed to do it and said, yeah, okay, we're gonna do it, right? Well, we asked some questions the other night because we know that he has been on pain meds, a very specific pain meds, gabapentin, and he is very open about it, which I think works in his favor. Okay,
it does.
I think that it makes the community and people in general feel like he is more trustworthy because he's so open and transparent. Well, the doctor put him on gabapentin, okay, and we were asking, can that impact the lie detector test? We didn't know. We weren't sure. We did a little bit of digging.
But I thought it could. I talked about like the effects of gabapentin and how it blocks pain signals literally in the brain. Like it affects your neurons. It's an anti-seizure medication. And it can make you very sleepy. Which Seth said in a Facebook post that he was falling asleep during the polygraph. So what did you find?
Yeah, so one of our thought rioters shared this, okay?
Okay.
And Ava shared this. So thank you very much and shout out to you. But she said that he looked into this, which I would be surprised going into a doctor's appointment and being like, hey, doctor, I need this one specific type of medication, right? It doesn't seem very likely. I mean, I've never been in a doctor's appointment where I could be like, hey, doctor, I need this one very specific type of medication. So he was prescribed gabapentin, okay? Well, gabapentin in this, hang on, it is, read the article, leveraging medication to fool a polygraph examination, okay? So, leveraging medication to fool a polygraph examination. And this was written May 3rd, 2018, according to the website here. Okay. I haven't done any verifications on this website. I haven't done any.
What? Why are you quiet?
I haven't done anything to verify this, you guys. But so it goes into saying gabapentin, which is what he's on, okay, Neurontin, is an anti-epileptic, anticonvulsant. It affects chemicals and nerves in the body that are involved in the cause of seizures and some types of pain. Is this what you looked up the other night? Did you pull this up?
It wasn't this website. It was like WebMD or Mayo Clinic or something like that I read exactly what gabapentin does and what it's used for and the side effects and everything like that. But that is like in a nutshell what it does. You know, it's good for nerve pain.
Yeah.
It's an anticonvulsant, yes.
It says gabapentin was originally formulated and approved for treating convulsions and seizures. Gabapentin interacts with the neurotransmitter glutamate and slows down its effects, making those taking this drug less likely to have a seizure. Side effects of taking gabapentin are usually mild and can include dizziness, drowsiness, diarrhea, and a weak, tired feeling. People taking gabapentin should be aware, however, that it does have particularly unpleasant withdrawal symptoms, even after taking it for a relatively short amount of time and at a low dose. But can you overdose on gabapentin? No, you can't. So it's interesting, and I just started digging into it. And based off of all the research and everything I was looking into, it seems a lot more likely that the gabapentin could impact this. Now, my big question is,
why don't you just show our sign?
My big question is, because if people are just stopping by, they get to see what we're talking about. My big question is, would the expert, the polygraph expert, know and ask and say, hey, we can't do this test while you're on this?
I mean, they always ask if you're on any medications, if you're under the influence of anything, like and he's been very open about it to the public. So I mean, I kind of wonder, like, would they allow him to even take the polygraph on the medication?
That's what I'm curious about too. Because
they would surely ask.
That I hope so.
And he said it publicly.
Yeah, I hope they would ask.
Yeah.
I hope. I mean, I don't know if the polygrapher or Nancy Grace specifically is going out there and watching every single thing that he's saying. Here, I'll pull him up. So, but this is one topic that needs to continue being talked about. And in my opinion, anytime there's potential red flags, and I think this is a valid red flag here, absolutely. I think that it needs to be talked about and worked through to understand what the implications could mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Seth would answer some questions on it, but the issue is everything we hear is always from the parents on everything. I would really just like to hear something official from somebody official.
I agree with you. And I think that is one area that we could have some control in, because look, you guys, the parents aren't going to know everything, and they have their own battle going on. Law enforcement, as long as we're focused on the parents, we're not focused on law enforcement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we're not focused on law enforcement, that doesn't give them any reason to be held accountable to what they're saying and what they're doing and how they're conducting themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole thing this whole time has been about the inconsistencies in the parent statements. There's even been inconsistencies in Seth's statements, though they're not as glaring of an issue as Chris and Katie Proudfoot.
Yeah, there have been some inconsistencies. And again, I think we are doing ourselves a disservice if we don't highlight these red flags, to look at it unbiased. That's the only way anybody can have a good understanding of a situation, is being able to look at all sides unbiased, every single red flag. And how my mind works is, look, did the father, who you're seeing in the picture right here, have some weird situations in his past that made me think, okay, that could be a red flag or a minor red flag, right? Yeah, he does. He has a few. But do the other parents, the stepfather and birth mother,
oh yeah, they
have
do.
More red flags? Yeah. So when I'm looking at an investigation, when I'm trying to determine and or figure out what direction I want to pursue the research, where I'm digging, the questions I'm asking, and everything in between. I'm going to go towards the direction that has the most red flags, the most questions, the most unanswered questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope we get his test results soon. I hope he comes out and gives a statement. I hope that we can understand. And, you know, he has a few creators he goes on consistently. You know, maybe there's a trust bond
the
built
Pascal
there.
Show, and
that one other guy.
T-Rev.
Yep. Well, if any of those guys are listening to this, ask them about the gabapentin. You know,
and the polygraph. Yeah. How did the medication you're on affect that? Did they ask you about it? Were you upfront and tell them about it? Yeah, I think those questions should be asked.
The
for
only
sure.
way to handle red flags and questions is head on in any situation, you know, just like the feet situation.
Yeah.
So,
there's really no updates to Sebastian's case, sadly. However, I did see that narked divers, the ones who posted the phone call with Chris Proudfoot, or what we assume is Chris Proudfoot, I saw one of their videos of them searching that retention pond. And it was really interesting actually getting to see what the retention pond looked like.
Okay.
Which was...
How deep is it?
You should pull it up. Just go to their YouTube channel. It's like the first video, I think. It's not deep, like, at all. Okay. It's literally what you would think of as a little retention pond. It's like a ditch. It's like where all the ditches go to, you know what I mean? It's like one big ditch. That's how the only way I know how to explain it. Right there. Yeah. That video.
Well, I want to give him a shout out. Hang on.
Okay.
Yep. So, okay. So this is Narked Divers, N-A-R-K, EDDIVERS. So shout out to you. This is the second video that we're talking about from you. So thank you for everything you're doing out there. That's incredible.
Yeah. And we're not going to play the video. We're just going to look at it. So essentially a rundown is he finds a hat, but the hat doesn't seem to be significant in any way. If you guys want to see the video, definitely go check it out.
Yeah,
we don't want to steal his content or his views. Go watch it after this stream.
But that's really interesting.
But yes, you can see.
That is so shallow.
It doesn't even reach his knees.
All he's wearing are boots here. Here, you guys.
Galoshes, yep.
All he's wearing is like boots under the knee.
Yeah, under the knee.
Oh my gosh.
And they drained that to look for, supposedly, to look for Sebastian. And he was there to take another look at it.
They drained it and it filled up that quick? Because I can tell by these raised edges here where the grass is, they didn't like it. Maybe they drained this and they filled it back up, but that grass has been there. So the water was never higher.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really confused about the drainage of the retention pond because I personally haven't seen an official say that. I have heard everybody say it except the police. So I don't know. I'm going to go back and look at some media coverage and see if that's ever stated anywhere by a police officer or an investigator and see what I can find. Because we all know this case is so full of rumors and drama, and even some of the media reports have come out with inaccurate things, like the video about the two lights, and the fact that wasn't the full video. That was a very tiny piece of it, like a 15th of it or something like that, from what Seth Rogers said, that it's literally just a tiny part of the whole video. Like, imagine taking a security video from your home and then only taking a tiny little square out of it and showing people that. Like, what?
God, why is he like focusing on that hat?
That's the hat he finds, and he thought because it's a security company hat, he thought it might be relevant.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can show the hat. I mean, just go to the picture of it.
Yeah.
It's Vivint.
Oh, okay.
But supposedly that's not the company Katie Proudfoot worked for. It was Brinks.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Wow. But yeah, huge shout out to you, Narked Diver. That's awesome. You're out there and getting dirty.
And this is the same guy who
you're awesome.
Yeah, and they do it for free. And this is the same channel that came out with the phone call that they had with Chris Proudfoot. When did we talk about that? Earlier this week.
Yeah,
we talked about that. And it was him having conversation with him, talking about the search dog supposedly tracking from the Proudfoot's front door all the way to this retention pond, and then it stopped. And there's also an audio recording talking about seeing footprints.
Yeah.
And
in this area.
Yeah, like literal footprints, and that a dog tracked to that area. But there's, I don't know, there's not a lot of clarification there. It's just Chris's statements,
much verification.
And that audio isn't even as good as everyone made it out to be to me, like actually indicating that the dog did have a scent. The police, I think, have come out and said they thought they had something, but they didn't, or something like that. And supposedly this retention pond was drained because of that and looked through. But again, we just don't have anything official.
Yeah.
I just don't know what's real or not.
Listen, I get it.
I just do not get it.
Yeah, no, I get it that it's strange. I get it that it's weird that they're not putting any information out, but I do have to say that maybe there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? Maybe there's some kind of reason why they're not putting anything out. I just don't know. I don't have enough information. I don't have enough local details, family details to Sebastian Rogers. I just don't know.
I don't know either. But I really hope that no way.
Yeah, I just don't know.
I really hope that they have a lead and they're on to something that we just don't know about. I really hope so, because none of it makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I hope they're making some sense of it behind the scenes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I mean, that's essentially it. You should share Sebastian's face again. Let's make sure we're still spreading his face, spreading it as far and wide as we possibly can. It's the best way to find a missing kid. You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the best way to find a missing kid, is just get that out there as far and wide as possible. So what are you looking for?
I was looking for more information on the protest that was supposedly scheduled for out front of the Yogi Bear campground. I don't know when that was supposed to be having. If any of you live down there, please don't attend it. It just ends up looking really bad. You know, this case has already turned into so much drama.
What is it?
It's not. People are going to protest the Yogi Bear campground where Chris and Katie Proudfoot are camping at.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything beneficial.
It just doesn't help
either. It doesn't help. It needs to be focused on the search efforts, not trying to get them to go stay in a Walmart parking lot. You know what I mean? Which is something you're supposedly allowed to do. So yeah, it's just interesting.
So I did see that in the Elijah Vu case. I'll just mention this real quick. I tweeted it, I posted it to Twitter that the chief of police came out and did an interview. He sat down, did an interview with Fox 11 to update on the case. And the interviewer was kind of basically saying, you guys don't believe he's alive, do you? And he was like, I won't comment on that. But Elijah Voos, he's a missing 3-year-old that went missing only 5 days before Sebastian Rogers did, February 20th of this year. He's been missing ever since. They found his blankie that he supposedly went missing with. And the investigator essentially said they feel like they're looking in the right place because they found that blanket. And, they've searched landfills. They've searched all kinds of places. So I don't know. It's not looking so good, but share his face too. You guys can go watch that interview. Again, I posted it to Twitter. So I just really hope that his family can get closure. Even if his mother doesn't care,
Yeah.
His other family cares and they deserve the closure. And I mean, he deserves to be found.
I agree.
Alive or past.
100%. I agree.
It's just super sad.
It is. The whole situation is super sad.
But share his face too. Again, far and wide. It's the best, literally the best we can do for a case like this is making sure everybody knows these kids' faces. Because it could just be happenstance and you need to be able to recognize that's them.
Or out of the side of your vision, you'll realize like, oh, wait, I've seen that kid before. I've seen that person before. And boom, there you go. You solved something. Kind of like Kaylee Gonzalez finding that missing lady or whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She noticed after. She found the missing poster after and then called.
Yeah.
That was that exact situation.
I know. Realized it after the fact.
Which if she had realized it at the moment, it would have been a better situation because then you can keep your eye on that person. You know where they're going. You're paying attention to that.
Totally agree.
Yeah. There's a similar situation going on in the Sebastian Rogers case where a lady thinks she saw him too. I read it the other day.
I don't remember that. So
her and her daughter were on a trail and they came across him. And
I remember now.
He supposedly was wearing shoes though.
Yeah. I remember.
And that they talked to him and then she didn't know there was a missing kid, went home and then realized it. And then she called.
Got it. But yeah, keep an eye out for these kids, you guys. Kids depend on adults in general, right? And not all adults are dependable. Not all adults are upfront and honest. So the ones that are, we got to do as much as we can and stay as aware and present and able to see where we can, so we can pick up the slack for those areas for sure. But we're going to keep following all these cases, you guys, and just continue staying on top of it. And we're going to keep covering it. So go ahead and hit that like button or the stars button or the thumbs up button and hit that subscribe. If you're not subscribed, turn on those notifications and continue tracking with us. Okay, so let's see here. What did I do with that page? Okay, so we have some new court docs that we haven't covered yet.
Okay.
In the Idaho 4,
does this have to do with the hearing?
No, I don't believe it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Unfortunately.
So pull them up. What are they? I'll pull them up on my computer so I can see good. I always look forward to new docs in the Idaho 4 case. That's for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's going on with this?
All right, you guys. So what we have going on here is the state's response to the defendant's 14th supplemental request for discovery. This came out 2 days ago.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
How many pages is it? 5. Okay. All right. So, and for anyone that is new here and doesn't know that the Idaho 4 case is the main case that we're covering right now, if you go on our channel and you look under our playlists, we have an Idaho 4 playlist with about 100 different videos in that playlist, all having to do with or connected to the Idaho 4 case. And we have broken it down piece by piece by piece by piece, everything from lost footage that experts were talking about, to IgG, to cell phone triangulation, to GPS, to Papa Rogers, to 113 pieces of physical evidence, and everything in between. All right. So come check it out. Let us know what you think. I know we've been live lately, but we still have a lot of good videos out there. I need to start getting those out. That's probably going to be a focus next. So good?
Yeah.
All right. So State of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Bryan Kohberger in the Idaho 4 massacre. State's response to defendants, 14th supplemental request for discovery. 2, the defendant Bryan Kohberger and counsel Ann Taylor. Comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney and submits the attached exhibits 1 and 2 in response to the defendant's 14th supplemental request for discovery filed on March 27th of 2024. The state incorporates the following responses as fully set forth at this point. State's response to the defendant's 14th supplemental request for discovery. So, state's response to request for discovery filed on January 23rd. State's response to defendant's first supplemental request for discovery filed on February 21st of 2023. State's response to defendant's second supplemental request for discovery filed March 29th, 2023. The third supplemental request for discovery filed on March 12th. The motion to compel discovery filed on May 12th. Excuse me. You're
going to read all of these?
State supplemental, response to defendant's first, second, and third filed June 8th. I mean, I can just give the dates to give an understanding and breakdown of like how much time is going in between each one and how they're now bundling all of these together. So you have the defendant's first, second, third filed June 8th. We have fourth, June 16th, response to fourth, June 29th, June 29th, July 5th, July 12th, July 12th, July 25th, August 30th, September 6th, August 24th, November 20th, 22nd, 25th, April 1st, April 4th.
Did you skip January and March?
Did I? November 20th, January 22nd, March 25th.
This is in 2024 now. Yeah.
The state has and will continue to provide discovery in accordance with Idaho Criminal Rule 16 and applicable law, and reserves any and all objections thereunder. Why do you think they put this one out? I thought this was interesting.
Why?
Because this... Hang on. Because this... the state is responding to the true crime community.
What, that they have been turning over discovery?
Correct.
Yeah, that's not the issue.
So there has, on the most two recent requests for discovery, more mainstream media, not like the national level mainstream media, but mainstream media has been picking up why is it taking so many requests to get this over there? Then after that, we see the state come out with a response, bundling every single discovery response all into one document.
Yeah, showing the history, showing their track record, all that. Well, see, I think that you're right. I think the narrative is starting. I think it's starting to show that they've been withholding evidence, honestly. But the thing is that Anne never said that they were withholding discovery. She essentially said that the discovery's a mess. And when she goes to, like, if there's supposed to be an attached expert report or an attached exhibit, like the x-rays, the actual x-rays that were supposed to be attached to the autopsy report, that they're not there. And then she has to request, like, they're going through the discovery and finding things weren't included. And she very much so acted like it wasn't his fault. It was all these, different agencies' fault. So I don't know. It's just like, I think it's obvious to me it's like that on purpose. It's a mess on purpose. Burying your opponent with as much evidence as possible, disorganized evidence at that.
I've wondered that. I have absolutely wondered that for sure. And I wonder if we're going to be able to... see anything having to do with that. And what I mean by that is, look, Ann Taylor has been coming out and talking about little bits of knowledge in the case, not anything having to do with non-dissemination. It's more about the structure of the case. You know what I mean? And we saw her come out and she said that that, Judge, if you can do one thing for me, and this was a few hearings ago, if you can do one thing for me, I need all the discovery. I need things to happen when I ask for them, and I need them to happen when I ask for them.
To be able to be on time,
Yeah, to be able to be on time, to be on top of everything, and handle the business that you're expecting me to handle.
Yeah.
And
everyone acts like she's just playing a bunch of delay tactics.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's interesting. I think it brings up a big question of why this is important. If Bill has this idea that he doesn't want to taint the mainstream media image of Bryan Kohberger. I doubt that, okay? And I'm not saying this coming from a perspective of Bryan Kohberger's innocent, okay? I have no idea if Bryan Kohberger's innocent. That's not what's important here, you guys. And yes, that's not what's important here, you guys. But what's important is being able to make sure that Bryan Kohberger gets a fair trial and the general public is safe.
Yep.
So when I watch the prosecution, and again, I'm not saying this is wrong, but when I watch the prosecution, I see the possibility that there is some character assassination at hand here.
I agree. I feel like that's been going on too. I kind of wonder if Anne doesn't think it's been going on and is catching on to it, considering she played that clip in court of him saying to spread the facts of the case far and wide.
I mean, if Ann Taylor was telling the truth, and I'm not here to say she does or doesn't, you guys, that's just not my job or position. But she didn't know what was in that.
What?
When she came out talking about that file, I thought she wasn't the one that put it together.
She said they worked on it late into the night. I thought.
They did it together?
I thought
I need to go back and look at that because I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I'm not sure. So, but I thought that he put it together.
I thought she said that they worked on it late into the night, but I don't know. I will need to go back and watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I see a couple people putting out there what, a lot now, what they believe Bryan Kohberger is, whether innocent or guilty or what. I think the only way to have a fair channel, an unbiased channel, is to have people that believe all things, all opinions from all sides, and everybody talking about their opinion, what they think and why they think it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get an echo chamber of all like-minded people, and that's horrible. That's the worst thing to do in science. That's the worst thing to do in a community. That's the worst thing to do when you're trying to develop a realistic opinion or theory or hypothesis or anything in between, you know?
I agree. I think it's really important.
And
one interesting thing about the hearing that I've been thinking a lot lately, and the lawyer mentioned it too, and that people underestimate their own bias significantly, which is why that survey is so important. It's why it's so important to be able to ask those questions that are not true, and figure out if these jurors can truly be unbiased. And it's not as simple as them saying, oh yeah, I can be fair. And any of them that answered guilty, from what I heard the expert talk about and lawyers that I watched after, like Andrew Burkhart and the lawyer, and hearing their opinions, is those people saying, like a potential juror saying, I have heard about it, and I think he's guilty, like them voting guilty on that survey, that's something they can't overcome. Even if they say, well, I can put it to the side and remain unbiased, even though I think he's guilty right now, I can, put that out of my mind during the trial. It's not true.
Yeah.
From what research has shown, that is not true.
Yeah.
At all. You cannot put that out of your mind and remain objective and unbiased in that situation. And that most people think they can be fair, think they can be objective and unbiased, and they underestimate themselves.
Yeah. No, I agree. And who said that?
The lawyer was talking about it, and the expert, and I was kind of looking into it and thinking about it because it's interesting.
No, I agree with that. And I think the best way to make an attempt to try and overcome that is to be aware of it. And that's one of the reasons why we talk about it all the time, because you guys, I'm terrified of bias. Okay. I am terrified of it in my personal self, of bias, because I know the downsides of bias. I know the implications of bias. I understand how one-sided it could allow you to look at the world, and that terrifies me. So most of the times when I'm talking about bias or trying to highlight certain topics and things and everything, I'm talking directly to myself,
Agree. I think that bias is something that we have to be super, super aware of and careful about in society because, gosh, even though bias can be necessary, it's something that it's just like feelings. You can't just trust it because it's there.
Yeah.
It could be there and it could be misleading. Oh, I'm afraid of the dark, that kind of thing. Something silly, like being afraid of something, or public speaking. Public speaking is a perfect one. You're afraid of public speaking, okay? Well, you have to ask yourself, why am I afraid of public speaking? There's no threat to my life. Fear is supposed to be something that is indicating to me to be afraid for my life, that I am in danger.
Yeah.
But there's no danger there.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's a great example. And yeah, like I said, I think that's why I'm terrified of bias. And in this situation, I mean,
bias is trickier than feelings, though. I think.
I don't know.
You don't think it's trickier than feelings?
No, I don't.
Because I feel
think feelings are
a lot of times
harder because bias a lot of times lives in you and other people without them knowing it's there, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Feelings, though, you don't know what you don't know. So
that's my whole point, though. That's why bias is trickier, because you don't realize it's even there. Feelings, are there.
Yeah, maybe.
You're more aware of your feelings than you are biased usually.
And this is such a subjective topic, but so when it comes to feelings, I personally feel like that it's harder to overcome the intuitive nature caused by feelings. So like if you're in a situation and you get so scared that you're in immediate fight, flight, shock, or fight, flight, freeze, and something. Okay, it's fight, flight, freeze, and one other thing. There's 4. So if you get super scared and you enter one of those immediate reactions, like natural reactions, right, from adrenaline, and you get going, those feelings are harder to overcome than learning about bias and holding yourself accountable, in my opinion. But that's why.
I don't know. I think bias is really, really tricky. I just think it's really hard, and that's why I think the whole jury thing is so hard, because I think that people will know things and they don't even realize they know things. That was my argument from the beginning with juries, like in the day and the age we live in, in that how can a jury not be tainted now?
Yeah.
Like, this is a hard conversation. Like, with media, the way media has covered this case, if you were to just say you're a Fox watcher, okay? If you were to just turn on Fox throughout this past year, you would have almost certainly seen something about this case.
Yeah.
If you were to just turn on every mainstream, there's no way you could watch the news without seeing something about this case.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%.
Even super elderly people I know have heard about this case.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
They know nothing about it.
It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that you have bias to a detriment. One area that I feel like we could use lie detector tests effectively is for jury selection. I think because no one's there to get in trouble, okay? But you're there to try and find out how biased someone is. When anybody can lie on questions, you guys, like if I knew, if I was selected to be a juror and I'm given a survey, I can almost guarantee what answers I need to circle to make sure that I end up a possibility to be on the jury. You know what I mean? But with a lie detector test, you wouldn't. And obviously, no one's getting in trouble there or anything like that. You're just getting a much more real, raw, and straight up understanding of a person's opinion on the case.
Because a very manipulative person could very easily get into a jury, I think, with the jury questionnaires.
I mean, we saw it with what's her name? With Strawberry Shortcake. Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson on the Scott Peterson case. And I'm saying her name wrong, and it really is something like that. So I'm not trying to be offensive here, you guys, but her name was something like Strawberry Shortcake or Strawberry Cheesecake or something like that. And she had bright red hair, and she lied and said she had never been in an abusive
I thought that's what people just called her.
And she was in an abusive relationship, which is a very similar setup like this. So when she entered that jury, she was already biased. It was done. She had trauma against abusers. So she didn't go in there as an unbiased juror ready to listen to the evidence.
Yeah.
And I believe Scott Peterson is guilty personally. Where I stand right now with the current evidence at hand, I believe he's guilty, but I still think her being on the jury panel was unfair.
It was very, very unfair.
Right? And Bryce Jones coming through. We appreciate you. OMG, fun facts. All right. You are awesome.
Thank you, Bryce.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was super unfair. And I think it's really easy to manipulate, honestly, the jury questionnaire and get on a jury. Like, I think I could do it. Based off the questions I've seen asked. If you're just not honest and you have a stake in wanting to be on that jury, I think it's easy, honestly, to get on it. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good idea, actually, is some kind of lie detector test setup.
I personally am all for that. I think there's a place for polygraphs. I do. I don't know if they are for hiring law enforcement. How many sociopaths do you think have been hired on law enforcement because they can pass a polygraph? So I had a friend when I was younger that was like
probably a lot, honestly.
Super goody two shoes. And I don't mean that in a bad way, you guys. I was a curious George. I was a troublemaker. When someone said, "Hey, Brendan, you can't do that," I would be like, "Cool, go do something else so I can do that," you know? But he was the opposite. Always followed the rules, always did everything, was very straightforward and a very trustworthy and good person. And he could not get hired for law enforcement, even though he revolved his entire life and schooling around it because of a polygraph. Is that not messed up?
It is messed up.
It's super messed up.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for him.
You guys should cover my case in a few months. Multi-mill fraud case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Interesting.
Yep. We are interested for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
We love our Thought Rioters, and
thanks for the super chat, Bryce.
Yeah, thank you for the super chat. And if you have a case that you're personally involved in, that would be awesome. It would be really cool to cover.
Yeah.
And go through the details. I would be a little worried that I could offend somebody though, because but although I don't know if you're involved in the case or if it's like your case, like you're bringing a suit against somebody or you're involved in the professional panel.
Send us details and anything you know obviously wouldn't want covered, that kind of thing. Anything that's off limits.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. Jury bias is scary to me. It's really, really scary to me. And the Apple River stabbing case actually made me start questioning it a lot. And this past couple hearings in the Kohberger case, it's resurfaced to my mind. You know, like bias in the public and how it works with court cases and how, you know, media campaigns, like character assassination campaigns in the media, I think are extremely effective, especially in a high profile case.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I bet you they are really effective in a small community as well, though, that doesn't have a lot of attention outside of that community, blasting it on local news.
Yep.
I bet it's really effective in that respect too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, so it's a civil suit? I'm the plaintiff? Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. As long as there is something there to cover against whoever, you know, whatever it is. If it's multi-million, then I'm sure it has to do with the corporation. You rarely ever go see multi-million-dollar suits, you know, from person to person. It would have to be something substantial,
right?
Which I have no idea, but I just expect I'm connecting dots, assuming that's what you're talking about. But yeah,
sounds interesting though.
It does. It sounds really interesting. We'd love to know the details for sure. Absolutely. But yeah.
Oh, you know, were you about to get off?
What are you going to cover? I was going to.
Okay. Well, I guess we can talk about it next time.
But
it's getting kind of late, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, you guys, this was a huge show. We appreciate all of you. You guys are incredible. All of you are absolutely incredible. And you guys are awesome, awesome, awesome. And hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment under the video after the show, and we will be back with you guys tomorrow. And tomorrow is the podcast, so Thought Riot Podcast. We're going to be covering some news stories, although tonight we did dive into some news stories. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you all for being here tonight. Hope you had a good Friday and you have a good rest of the weekend. And yes, we'll be back tomorrow to do Thought Riot Podcast and to dig into some new cases, old cases, Idaho 4 cases. I definitely have something I want to bring up tomorrow.
Yeah.
With Idaho 4.
Good time.
Yeah.
For sure. And yeah.
Yep. See you guys later.
Appreciate you all, every single one of you. Hit that like, leave a comment, and you guys are all incredible.